Welcome to Coffee with the Bishop, another time of COVID-19. It is a great time to be alive and around. And I want to certainly let you know that we got some great guests that's going to be with us today. And in that, you're going to learn a lot of information. And you're going to gather some information that can help to make you stronger, wiser, and also want to participate in doing something to make a difference in this world. Yes, it is time. It's time for us to rise up and take a stand. Not just be hearers of something, but also doers of it. I noticed today, as they did the homegoing services of Mr. George Floyd, they had a great turnout of people. And I also noticed that there were people who came to prove a point, and that point was that there is unity, and we can have unity if we work together. Yes, and that is the truth. Here in Stroudsburg, we had 3 successful marches, and they were I want to say 4, really, 2, 3, 4, but 3 to 4 marches we had, and they were very peaceful, and they were very gentle, and they were very where you could just join in and walk and know what you were marching for, the unity and peace for others, and the strength to do some things in our community. And they were led by some young people, and they were also led by Ms. Krista Casares, and from the president of the NAACP, she did one. Mr. Demetrius Thomas, he did one, and also Ms. Kaylee Williams, she led one. And each one of them did it for a specific reason, but it was all about unity and making it known that we were not going to stand for things to be the same way as they have been. And so I want to encourage you today to share this page with someone. Get on and tell your friends, join today. Get on. There's something that you're going to hear that's going to help to encourage you and help change your life. As I come to each one of these people, I want them to tell you about themselves and what they do, and we'll come back for this open discussion. And I want to start off with Kaylee Williams. Tell us what you do and everything like that. Kaylee?
And I was one of the 4 co-leaders of a march that we just had in Stroudsburg. So with everything that's been going on in the world, we knew like it was time for everything to just stop. And racism and prejudice, it's terrible. And recently, some videos of different people from our school district saying racial slurs came up, and it was broadcasted pretty much everywhere on social media, like especially a lot of celebrities saw. And we thought, like, this is bringing racial tension to our community, to our schools. It's dividing everybody, and that's not okay. So me, Moet, Courtney, and Azuka, we all came together, and we were like, what can we do to stop this? What can we do to change this? What can we do to encourage people to come together? So we decided to plan this protest, and it was amazing because we're just 4 high school, about to graduate high school. And we didn't think that we'd be able to have that many people supporting us, supporting one cause, different strangers from everywhere supporting one cause. So it was really nice, and it was really inspirational that we were able to do that for our community.
Mr. Demetrius Thompson. Thomas.
How's it going, everybody? How's everybody going, man? Enjoying this beautiful weather we had today, right? Well, a little bit about myself. I'm just talk a little louder. I'm sorry. I'm just a local businessman and a part of this community. And a young man by the name of Kasim Johnson decided to light a spark for everybody. And he came to me and was like, hey, I just need some confidence. I just need some, just some love. And I was like, I got you, young man. And he decided to organize some marches from Dansbury to the courthouse. And then we had another one just the other day where we marched from Dansbury all the way down Crystal Street and back down, and where we had some speakers and some information. But the great thing about it was that it was just to see the community come together. Coming together is what we need right now. Enough is really enough, and like we need to just come together and get some education, get some knowledge, and come together. Just love and come together.
Ms. Casares, president of the NAACP.
Hi, good evening, Bishop. It's a pleasure to be with you as always. And I just want to start by saying how proud I was of the efforts by Dimitri and Kasim, who had their marches on Monday and then again this past Sunday. And of course, Kaylee Williams and the 3 other young ladies who were all very courageous and stood up for what they knew and believed was right. And the thing that I think made me most happy was, because these are young people we're talking about, and to know that these are the hands that we're putting our future in. We're in very good hands. I was extremely inspired. And I was amazed at the turnout, especially from Monday. It was absolutely breathtaking to see, such a large group of people, marching for what we all know is right. But it took a young man, and Dimitri backing him up, as he explained today, to make that happen. And it's really just as simple as that. And I think they are indicating, how we can get this solved once and for all. And it's just believe you can do it. I mean, Kasim just believed he could do it, and he stood up and did it. And I think that's absolutely amazing, and it's incredible. And the same thing to Kaylee and the other 3 young ladies. They just wanted to do it, and they got up and did it. And I'm encouraging more people to feel empowered to do that, because we could certainly solve a lot of the problems that we're faced with.
Well, one of the things I noticed today when I was looking at the homegoing services of Mr. Floyd was very important, that as he kept reiterating that he was calling out for his mom. He said, "Mama, mama." And I believe that one of the things that caused a big spark where everybody wanted to participate was that every woman who's a mother who heard that cry, "Mommy, mommy," it did something to them. It moved them to tears. It moved them to make some type of movement. It caused them to rise up and look out for their sons and their daughters. It's an umbilical cord that is connected to them that caused them much pain as they heard this young man cry out for his mother. And also it caused men, especially us as men, I don't mind saying that I am a mama's boy. I don't have no issue with that. I'm grateful that I can be a mama's boy. And but there was something about every young man or man who heard him cry out for his mother that took them and it went into the inner of their ear, as well as what we saw and witnessed without incident of seeing that it wasn't anything that he had done that should have caused him to have to leave this earth like he did. But in the midst of that, that was what caused a great uprise. And we are in a place now that we say, what comes up next? Now he is being buried, probably buried at this very moment. And as he's being buried, what happens after this? And so I want to say to Mr. Dimitri, what do you think is going to happen after this? Where do we go from here? Now that this has happened, we've heard the cry of a man, cry out for not just his mother, but for justice at the same time. Where we're going to happen now, and what do we look for the future to be like?
Well, these are scary times, but they're also very promising times, honestly, because, some of the best land to grow on is burnt land, and there's only one way we're going to do that, and that's really just together. We also need to understand that we don't know everything as well. We don't know exactly all the laws. We don't know all the rules and regulations. Some of us do, some of us don't. Some of us search for that knowledge. Some of us don't. Some of us don't know where to find that knowledge. So what we have really been trying to make sure that we focus on is an educational push going forward, while continuing to put pressure on the people in power to actually make changes. But you can't expect people to make changes and then you not honor said changes by simply not knowing said rules and regulations. So with that being said, we are going to be trying to, like I said, we're going to be trying to do town hall meetings where we're going to be bringing in and showing people from the town that, hey, this is where you can come to get that knowledge. We're going to be asking that state representatives and anybody. You don't have to be a state representative to have knowledge. You could be someone who just loves to just knows the laws and wants to give back. If you have something that you feel as though is knowledgeable that can give back to encouraging the cause and encouraging, educating people so that everybody around us comes from a place of knowing what's going on so that we can actually impact the changes that we really want. And then when we get those changes, we can abide by them and make it and start changing the narrative of certain things. I think that's where we start, because I've explained that my heart cries for Minneapolis and for Mr. Floyd's family and everyone out there who's been impacted. But I live in Stroudsburg. I live in Monroe County. I can fix things here if I try. So if we try just a little bit and everyone just tries just a little bit, I'm not asking people to quit their day jobs. You know, if you have information, give it. If you have an outlet, use it. If you have, don't be afraid. This isn't the time to be afraid. It's the time to actually show what you're made of. Don't, just for layman's terms, because like I tell everyone, I'm no politician. I'm no special person. I'm a regular guy who's been through regular stuff, and I speak as regular as possible. Just don't, it's time for don't talk about it, be about it time. It's time to get work done. And if you can help, educate. Each one teach one. That's my thing right now. And never alienate your allies. Just keep learning and teaching. That's where we have, and it all starts with the youth.
Well, Kaylee, now that you all have come to the place that you've come to, what do you feel you're going to go to do? Whatever you think is going to happen next with you all? You must be muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was muted. What happens next with me and the other young ladies that I've been working with, we don't want to stop where we just started with one protest. One protest can turn into two, which can turn into many. It was very inspiring that people came up to us and told us that we've made them want to create change. So I feel like what's next is that more people are going to start getting involved, and we're going to start seeing the changes that we demand, because all we want is equality. That's it. Mm-hmm.
Ms. Caceres.
I agree with both Dimitri and Kaylee, and I think that like I said before, that was the beauty of all of these marches and demonstrations, asking and crying out for justice, is that you realize that each one of us has the power, and you don't have to have college degrees in something in order to affect change, or you don't have to specialize in a certain area. You just really have to have the passion in your heart and being willing to learn, and then put those things into action. At the NAACP, at our monthly meetings, what you typically will hear from our political action committee are bills that we think people should be paying attention to. If there's something that looks like it might be detrimental to the community, we like to bring those things to the members' attention so that they can communicate with their state legislature, and let them know their opinions on these bills. It's just important really to have all of the pieces of this machine, which would include Dimitri and Kasim and Kaylee, and people like yourself, Bishop, to all work together in the spaces where we know we can function best. That's where the success is going to come from. No one's trying to compete for another position. We're all in support of one another, because it takes literally all of us to get this done. There can never be enough people stepping up to work.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer in that. As I watched those marches, one of the things I want to say that was great to me is not only that there was a lot of unity, the fact that when we were talking earlier and Dimitri was talking about how Kasim had come to him, it was one thing to know that when you have a brother or a sister that are big brother or big sister, you can pitch your ideas to, your vision to, and they help to make that vision become a reality. And I want to commend you, Dimitri, for doing that as we talk. Because it takes a lot for someone to sit back and say, you know what, let me listen to you, and let me listen thoroughly to what you're saying, and let me see how I can help that become a reality. And the same to you, Kelly, and the two other young ladies that work with you. Whomever you were listening to to help you to put it together, we want to salute them also, because in every good work that we march in or we do, there's somebody behind the scenes to help us suffer through the pain of it. And so I want to say to you, Dimitri, when you felt what Kasim was saying, what really moved you to just want to say, I really want to help my brother get this accomplished?
Well, a couple people have, like I said, I explained it to you guys before, but a couple people have heard this story, but it's just a true story, and it's just really what it is. I would be lying if I told you it was something different. I mean, I owed a debt to his father. You know what I mean? His father was very impactful to my youth when I first moved to this town. And I would be wrong if I didn't take the time to even listen to what this young man wanted to accomplish. He came with a plan. He was sticking to it. Like I said, this is all his baby. He has planned it. He has worked it. All I made sure was to make sure I was there to support him in the ways that he needed, to make sure that we keep a level head and we keep focused on the actual goal that we're trying to accomplish. and to make sure that he accomplished what was in his soul and his heart. Because at the end of the day, that's what's most important. He wanted to impact his town. When I heard that, it kind of is in the same lines and veins of how I feel in general anyway. I love this town. This town has brought me in, and I have a lot of people from all facets of life and from everywhere that show me a lot of love. And I would be wrong if I didn't use whatever outlets or whatever means that I can do to help anybody. I don't really, and to me, it doesn't matter what color you are, because racism comes in all colors and shapes and sizes and everything that's being mistreated in our town. Because let's be honest, you know what I mean? Our town it could be worse, could be better, but I love my town. And if we can get ahead of certain things in a positive way, then we should do that. And when a young man comes to you with something as inspirational as that, even if you fall flat on your face and 2 people showed up that day, then at least, you're trying. But for some reason, it sparked. It is what it is. And I also want to, there was another march that started this, there was a couple guys the days before that went out there it was a peaceful little sit-in right on Monroe County, right in the middle of the courthouse. Marquise, Moat, and a couple other guys that were out there. I know them personally. And I want to make sure they get their credit too as well, because they started that and other people saw that, and it becomes a little bit more comfortable. And for me, knowing what's going on behind the scenes a little bit more, I know that by people starting it became like, okay, I could do that. And it's a behind the scenes kind of thing first, but then it bubbled to this. So just to wrap up what the question was, what made me want to just listen is because, one, I owed a debt that can never be repaid, because anybody who's been a young man in a different town can understand how it feels to not have somebody who kind of take you under the wing and show you the ropes. And I was lucky enough to have him do that. And for me to just listen and try to help his son get his message across, hopefully I get some wings, but but besides that, it was just the right thing to do. And it's what we all should do. Just listen. And if it's something that you could do, it's not going to cost you nothing, a little bit of love and time, do it.
So Kelly, I'm quite sure that your mom and them was behind you. Tell me about your inspiration that helped you strong during making the decision to want to carry this out.
Oh gosh. Sorry. I would say my inspiration definitely came from my parents, even my own sister. My parents aren't from America. My mom's from Jamaica and my dad's from Antigua. So I know that when they came over here, this is not the future that they had envisioned their children would be growing up in, where everyone's so divided. Everything's hard. It's hard to be a person of color sometimes. So seeing how hard they worked and knowing how much change they would want, it was nice to make them feel proud that I did something for our community, for our oh gosh, I'm so sorry, for our community, something that kind of impacts the world, honestly. So definitely from my family and from my friends, I wanted to see better.
Well, I want to say this because there are 2 things before I go to Ms. Caceres. You talked about your parents and your sister having a family backing, which is very strong, and then to hear Dimitri talk about just being a brother to stand up with another brother because someone poured into his life, he decided to take up and pour into someone else's life. And I don't think any of us should ever think that you're in something alone. I think that if we're on here and you're viewing, and you'll see this later on, and I know many of you will come back on to see it, that when you view this, look at it from the standpoint of, here are 2 young people who have vision, and they are part of a legacy. Our legacy, my mother's, my grandmother's, great-grandmother's, they are part of a legacy that they kept it going. And when they took the opportunity to put their foot to the metal and say, let's do something about it, there were people that believed in them enough to help guide them in the right direction. Ms. Caceres, you're on mute.
I love to mute myself. Once again, I absolutely agree. I reflect back to our prayer luncheon, and the theme of that was to spotlight the everyday man and woman who filled all of those protests, during the civil rights movement, who helped get things accomplished. Yes, we give credit to the legislature. Yes, we give credit to, the people who are out in front, the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X's, etc. But it's every person who filled those protest spaces who helped send the message. And again, this speaks to what Dimitri and Kaylee did, which I think was absolutely, I cannot say it enough, incredible. But it takes just moves like that, just believing that it can be done and that it starts with you individually, not waiting for someone else or not criticizing someone else because it's taking too long. Sometimes you can just get up on your own and just say, you know what, I've had enough and I'm going to do this. And, if people believe in you, they will follow. And like he said, it could be 2 people, it could be 2,000 people, but, little by little, progress is made, and we can't lose sight. Little progress is better than none whatsoever. We just have to keep moving forward in a positive way.
And I am a firm believer in that, because of the fact is that when we look over the history of Monroe County, there have been some major people who have made some major things happen, and I said some wide interludes, and they've caused some things to happen that even to the point that I'm able to be here, that Kasim was able to be here, that Kelly's able to be here, and Dimitri, because there's some people who made it happen for us, and they may not have made the strides that happened like we saw in the marches, but they caused some things to happen. And so I want to say to those who are viewing and you're saying, wow, well, we did some things. Hey, nobody forgot that you did some terrific things in this community, and you afforded some things to happen even now. It could be even possible that we can do even greater things today. And so I want to say that when I look over that whole thing, and I was a part of the NAACP's march when they had it in their prayer and vigil that was right there at the square. It was very good to be there, to see so many people come out, because we learned that there are more people concerned than we thought. That's the first thing. We learned that there were a whole lot more people that wanted to be involved and find a solution rather than just look at the problem. And again, I'm going to come right back to you, Mr. Thomas, because you made some statements of how someone walked up to you and made that clear to you they were glad to see this was happening.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was just thinking about something that also just happened. I commute to work and over the Delaware Water Gap, and I don't have an easy pass. So I actually have to go through the actual toll booth every day. And ever so often I get this very, very nice lady, and she's like, be safe. And she just drives on, and I just drive on through. You too, ma'am, have a good day. So we were at the march the other day, and I see her in the crowd. I just see her there. And she locks eyes with me and goes, and it was like, wow, this lady who doesn't know anybody from Adam, that's in her heart. And this is where she's at. And I see this woman maybe 3 times a week, at least, easily. And, we don't talk, we don't speak. It's very cordial. Here's my $1. Have a good day. And the only reason I remember is because it's every time, you be safe. Now, what is she telling me to be safe because, she understands what's going on, she tells all her drivers to be safe. Now, I haven't had a chance to have a conversation with her, but I will, because I can actually, now we're friends on Facebook, and I'm going to actually have some conversation with her to find out what's going on, because she's the sweetest lady. But to speak about what you were saying is that I had a gentleman walk straight up to me during our first march, who, you definitely would not feel would be someone who would be with the march, just by, we all have our own preconceived notions of what the Poconos local people feel about us being here, and some of the preconceived notions. But someone, like I said, who you would never feel would be in support, walked straight up to me. I don't know why he chose me or whatever, what have you. And said, he was like, I've been here since I was a child. I've never been so proud of my town. This is absolutely amazing. This is wrong that's going on. Wrong is wrong. And, it moved me. I thought I seen it all. And a lot of people who I've spoken to who were there, the one thing they keep saying is, I would have never thought in this town. I would have never thought. And I get, some people were just out because, maybe it was just a nice day and they just, it was part of the trend. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but maybe while they were there, they heard something that maybe made them think about it. And then they went home and had a conversation with one of their friends, and then it became another conversation. Because starting the conversation and getting the education out there is like what it's all about. So it's amazing what one small act can affect other people.
Well, one of the things I want to say to that is that we need to make it clear that there are a lot of people in the community, like you had said, who really are for making things work, and they fight for the right of all people. And I've ran into some like Letty and some others who have fought Parish, and some others who fight to make sure things work out for everybody. And it is amazing because as it was said, I'm not from the community. I've been here now for 30 years. I don't think you can stay here 50 years. I don't know. I think you have to be about 60 years in order to be a part of the community. But even with that, I'm saying that there's been some great changes, and I never forget the people of the community. And I think that at one time, both sides of the community, those who were coming in, that were moving in, and the locals, as you said, that were already here, they had two different concepts about each other. And we never really sat down to really talk to get to know who each other were. We took perceived notions about what we thought about people, about what has been stated or what they may have seen on TV, and no one sat down to get to really know anybody. And so therefore, when we come to town, I want to just, sometimes we come in to make all the changes, but we never find out what it is that's already here that brought us here, and then what we can offer to the community and what the community can offer back to us. And so that march to me represented there's going to be a place of coming together. There's going to be a middle ground somewhere, and we're going to be able to sit down and have this conversation. And as you said, not just have town meetings, but community people meeting. You say you do things with the football, and you invited me to come out when you do that. Because you gotta have some food. That's what you told me, Mr. Thomas. You gotta have some
Yes,
food,
sir.
right? All right, make sure we got that right.
My man Royalty is on the grill.
All right.
Make sure that we have fried ribs, macaroni and cheese. It's not just coming out for football. We cook. It's cooked. If it's cold, we do the chili. Listen, we don't have step at the XFL.
Okay, and then to Haley, you all right? You ready?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. To Kelly, I pose a question to you. You said that your mom and them saw a better future for you. And I think that we need to know that, again, when we hear that word, my mom, my dad, there's something about knowing you have the backing of your parents. Well, in our community, we have lost that kind of parenting. We used to say, as you talked earlier, Thomas, Ms. Thomas, about you can go down the street, but somebody's gonna meet you down the street. I know your mama. What you doing down here? You ain't got no business down here. So when I look at this march, it was a coming together of community people from all over saying, we're gonna be a watchman. We're gonna watch out for our community. We're gonna take things and we're gonna take a stand and not allow what would have been, or people think it should have been, come in and destroy what we're trying to make as in harmony. And there is a place we can have in harmony. And we know that everybody's not going to be there, but we can do it so good that it become almost like a minute, little group versus all of those who are putting together and make it one. Now, Ms. Casares, you have a good vision about bringing things to, a place of peace. Come on, talk to us a little bit more about that.
Well, I think again, Bishop, there's just, my to-do list is this long, right? Like I'm always trying to add things to the mix, but I think for once we need to just really focus on ourselves and figure out the best way for us to move forward in a united fashion, all understanding our strengths and doing the work that needs to be done. the one takeaway that I had from this week is, wow, there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions. But when it comes to actually getting the work done, that's where it gets tricky. Finding volunteers is hard. You know, people are excited initially, and then things kind of die out because real life happens. You have bills to pay. You have a job. You have things that come up that you know that you don't expect to happen. But my hope is that there will be a lot of inspiration from the marches that took place, and that people will be willing to give more of their time. It doesn't have to take a lot. It could be like an hour a week. You know, if everybody did an hour a week, we could really solve a lot of the problems that, you know, that we face, not just here locally, but certainly on a broader level, even statewide and, you know, up to federal. Voting is definitely one of them. Bishop, you know, I talk to death about voting and the importance of that. But I think it's really just making sure that you're doing your research, doing your homework, you know, speaking to what Dimitri mentioned. You know, he may not have a lot of knowledge in one area, but you know where to find it. It's just your phone, Google. Everybody has one. We have to really start digging in. Whatever you're passionate about, whatever you really care about, I'm hoping that everybody will just, you know, start where they are, pick up from there, you know, and just kind of dive in and learn more about it, and then be willing to do an hour a day with any organization, you know, that's about forward progress. Because the finish line is, I can see the finish line, but it's going to take a lot of work. It really is. But I'm confident we can do it.
Okay. Now, I just want to hit this up real good. I've been waiting to do this piece right here. So we've had this great conversation, but I want to hit something. I want to get to this real core. The marches taking place in our city, our community, our town. Now, Dimitri, did you feel that you accomplished what you want to accomplish, you and Kasim, in the march? And if you did, what was it that you wanted to accomplish that day?
I truly feel that the marches themselves definitely accomplished exactly what the goal of them were. We wanted to bring awareness. We wanted to bring people together. We wanted to bring eyes to something that would hopefully inspire people to just say, wake up. And like, I mean, we can sugarcoat it as much as we want. We saw that man get executed, you know what I mean? And if he didn't get hurt by that, then there's something wrong with you. We can, if it doesn't matter, to me, it doesn't matter. Wrong is wrong. And that was wrong. And if you, it seemed like it just was enough for everybody. That march brought people together who never would have known each other. And then on top of it, it allowed voices that would never be heard an opportunity to be heard by people who can actually make changes. Because it woke up a lot of people. It rose a lot of eyebrows, and it brought a lot of attention to where people really needed to pay attention to, but weren't. So if one good thing came out of the marches, I would say is that the attention that was necessary to be brought to this, to Monroe County, Stroudsburg, that was accomplished tenfold. But that is only to continue to build momentum, to continue what we know we need to do.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you with that. Kaylee?
I think they're hello.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I cannot hear anything.
We gotta let them know that we're just saying hi to
Okay,
Justin.
we'll come back to you.
Well, I'll jump in, Bishop,
Yes.
if it's okay, because I thought about what Dimitri said about, you know, we all saw what happened to George Floyd, and I'll be honest, I've seen snippets, but I can't bring myself to watch the whole video because I've seen this happen so many times that it literally, like, I can feel, you know, when these things are, and I can't. But what I will say, I want to speak to the power of God for just a second. And I want to just remind everybody that literally we've seen this play out so many times before, right? We've seen it, Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, we could go on and on. The list is a mile long of names, you know, of unarmed Black men and women who lost their lives for no reason whatsoever. But what happened this time and what made, in my mind, different this time is that God literally slowed the whole world down. He slowed it down to a crawl. We went from just being stopped to shelter in place to now we're kind of crawling around, but we're still not as active as we normally would be, right? So while in the other instances, everybody was kind of going on about their lives, you know, worried about themselves, their own families, their own situations. For one moment, everybody, literally the whole world, literally had been slowed down enough to see what happened, and we all reacted together. So while I'm not saying at all that God ordained this, I am saying that he created the atmosphere for this change. And I'm just thankful that everybody answered that call, because I'm personally sick and tired of seeing it.
And so am I. It tore my heart to pieces. But back to Mr. Thomas, you said to make people more aware. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but for those who are going to be viewing, they're saying make us aware of to what. I saw the video, when it was on Facebook, and it just wrung me out. I was just gone. But when you say bring awareness to our community, awareness to what? Not just what was going on with Mr. Floyd, but what else were you trying to bring awareness to?
It's just awareness to the fact that I think people need to understand that this fight that we're trying to fight goes on both. It's a double-sided fight. And I would be remiss to say that I expect anybody who's going to pick a fight with anybody to be ready to have that battle. So the only way you can get ready for that battle is to get knowledge, is to get substance here so that you can actually sustain those changes that you want. And we can impact as groups of just, it doesn't matter like I said, who you represent, what party you are from, anywhere. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and you can impact the changes that you want to impact if you really want to impact them. So, you know, when we ended everything with the marches that day, we didn't just say we're just going to just stop. This is not just where we're going to end, because that would be just doing it while it's cool and while it's fun. You know, this isn't just kind of something that's just going to stop. People need to know why these laws were in place, why these things are happening. We also need to know how police feel about this situation. Honestly, how other people feel about these, honestly. So we need to inform people and have people be informed by the people who have the information. And what I think our goal, and that would make, you know, I would love to stand in Harrisburg, arms together, and make sure that some big bill gets passed for where, you know, we change everything. God willing, it happens, right? But what I can do is get a group of police officers from our area and maybe get a state representative for our area, a local representative, get a couple people and maybe offer our town someplace, a couple hours, come out and ask some questions, answer questions, learn. It doesn't take anything to learn. It doesn't take anything to listen. So if I can help impact that sort of change, that's where I think ultimately the marches and everything we've done would be considered a total success. You know, like I said, would love to change the world tomorrow. would love to. If it was in my heart to do it, it would be done. Everybody would love each other and whatever. But what I can do is open up those forums if I can, because we have a platform, so we might as well open up some forums for people. And we can't blame people if we don't show up, but we can blame them if they don't show up. That's the way I want to put the onus on everybody, because we have, like I said, I'm not blind. I am not sitting here and I'm never going to be just ignorant to certain facts. There's onus on both sides. So I'm willing to take those steps. Everyone else should be able to ready to take those steps. So let's absolutely come together like we just did those couple days, because there were reps out there that day. It was everybody showed up because so many people showed up. Now let's show up when we ask you to. And I feel as though that's the easiest way we can impact our area.
I want to say this. You all have been so nice, but I'm not going to be so nice now. Here it is. I think that I pray that when we were marching, or when we came to the circle, the square, at the time I was with you, Ms. Caceres, and the WSTP, and certainly when I watched Mr. Kasim and Dimitri and Kelly and them in their march. My hope is that that would happen in our community, that there's a raised eyebrow to realize that prejudice is at an all-time high. The one thing that happened when Mr. George, the police officer, had his knee on his neck, was that America had to see what was actually going on. And when he cried out, "Mother," whether you were black, white, Hispanic, whatever you were, you heard that cry. It had to make you pay attention. Back in the days of the civil rights movement, they didn't always take it all in like they thought they would. But when they start seeing the dogs turned on those black young men and women, and the holders turned on them, America had to see what was going on. And they could not stand seeing it, but you can hear something and not see it. It's a different thing. But when you're actually viewing it as it's happening, it does something. And I do believe that when we watched that 8 minutes and 49 seconds, which is a long time to be on someone's neck, if you tried it when they did that kneel at the first homegoing, they asked them to kneel, and you tried to kneel that long, like me, my knees was like going through. But to know that long of silence on someone who had that on their neck, it had to be very, very strenuous. It was like a blackout to me. And so I'm saying that I hope and I pray that what it did was make everyone aware of what was going on and stop seeing it and saying, we don't see that. We don't see any prejudice over here. We don't see anything like that. Because in our hometown of the Poconos, we've dealt with it a lot. Within the school system, we've dealt with it within our community. And for those, I was grateful to march up and down when we marched through Main Street, or so you all coming up. It was a blessing to see all of that, because I remember the day that would have never happened. And I also remember the day that someone spit on us for being at that Sherman Theater. And whoo, thank you, Jesus. I thank God I had a little Jesus, okay? So I'm saying to you that one of the things I hope it did was it raised people's awareness. It's not just let's, plant a flower and everything's gonna be all right, but that we have to take action. That's my prayer, that after all of this is gone, because the dust is going to settle, and there's going to be a new awareness. There's going to be a new thing that's trying to bud up out of us, and what are we going to do with it? And I hope that we don't let it die. I don't believe that's what you're going to do, Mr. Thomas, nor Kasim will do it, or Kelly, certainly not you, Ms. Caceres. And I don't believe in our faith community they will do it either. It's just that I had to say that because we've been very nice and we said, okay. But I've been here long enough to know that if there had not been any action taken, there would be the awareness would not even come up at all. It would be like, oh, we saw that, but we passed it by. When we came here, they didn't even just celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday. That was not even discussed or brought up in a mix of things. And we pulled our kids out of school because they only gave a half a day when they did give it the first time, and had an in-session for the teachers, but a half a day. But we kept pulling our kids out of school to celebrate that day. So when you took action, it made people have to think think again and think. And that's what your marches have done. It's caused people to have to think.
God,
Rethink what we've been thinking about, rethink how we've been handling it. And so you, a young man, and Mr. Kasim being a young man, and Kelly being a young woman, and Ms. Corceres, one of the things I want to say to you, Dimitri, where do you see you all taking us? Because you're the voice that is happening and speaking now. Where are you going to take us?
well, listen, I personally, like I've said, I'm just here to speak on behalf of the people who I know have been hurt by certain situations, who have been, affected by these situations that in our town that I know have been. I'm here to help facilitate in any way, shape, or form I can. I know that with my platform that I have, that I can speak to a lot of young men, adults, a lot of actual, business owners, and, a lot of people that, could listen. So like I continue to drive home, to me, it's about educating people. I am a person who, I left college because I got hurt and I came home and, I had to start working and becoming a man, so I personally believe that the more you know, the better for you. You can't win every fight with your mouth. You can't win every fight with your hands, but every fight you can win with your brain, so the more you do that, the better. So I personally am going to find ways to educate people, to bring people together on platforms that normally wouldn't be something that where we would, try to do this. But I've been moved to actually do it to where, I have a platform of sports, and people can tell you that sports, anyone who's played a sport, is the ultimate equalizer, and it brings people together. It's either you're going to come together or you're going to fall apart. And team sports you will always come down to that great equalizer of, can you do it? Can you play or not? And that's just what life is. Are you a good person or are you not? And it doesn't matter what color you are. If you can catch that ball and run for a touchdown, we're going to have you on the team. And the amalgamation of people that we see on Sundays is what reinforces me to understand that it can't be done, because I've seen so many diverse people come together on a Sunday just to play a sport. You mean you can't tell me we can't come together to change our world? We can't come together to change our little area? Like, one goal I have personally, this is just personally on a sports aspect of Monroe County, I want to find a way to get a turf complex in our area. I feel as though that will be something that would be great for the future, for the kids, for the adults, and everything. Sports brings together everybody. Everyone loves to come down and watch a good game or whatever, what have you. But for our area to be such a haven for sports, our facilities that we offer are not what they should be. I've seen all through the East Coast, and we are not up to par. And that is something that I can hopefully change. And that's one of my dreams for this area. That can also go hand in hand with simply just educating people. Somebody who can help me get that done just by speaking in these open forums could come to me and say, hey, I don't know if this is what you think, but I know somebody who can help. Because I understand what you're doing. And then we get a brand new park with some good stuff, with some nice turf. That helps. That's community upbringing. That's bringing the community up. And, it snowballs from there. I can only affect what I feel and what is around me. So I hate to bring up sports in this situation or anything like that, but that's how I personally feel I can affect the town. I can talk to people and affect people in my town, because I see them. and they feel me and they hear me and they understand that this is something positive that we're doing. So if that's positive, maybe this is positive. And it just kind of just branches out from there. That's just kind of how I feel about it.
Okay, Ms. Caceres, let me hear you.
Well, we've been busy all year before the pandemic. We had a whole slate of Black Wall Street series events that we were going to be putting out, because our goal for this year was to help people create a solid foundation that would allow them to consider becoming entrepreneurs and ditching, the rat race of the 9 to 5. So once we're able to get back into the green zone and we're able to, continue or resume meetings at the library, we will put that series back on the table and give folks a chance to learn, about fixing credit, about budgeting for single parents, about stocks 101, right? Things that, people may have been curious about, but weren't sure, bankruptcy options, should I do it? All of these kinds of things. And once people are at they have a sound financial foundation, then they can consider making moves like joining an SBA program to figure out, how they can pursue their passions or whatever their talents are, and becoming their own boss. We plan to have something similar to what Dimitri just mentioned. We're having a part 2 to our Saving Ourselves. So we already knew, or at least I know in my mind, when certain things happen, things are set up a specific way. So I knew from our first Saving Ourselves, when we talked with the state president, yourself, Bishop, and some other folks, the gentleman from the National African American Gun Association, when we talked about how are we going to solve our own problem? Because ultimately speaking, yes, we can look to the legislators, we can look to Washington, we can look to outside individuals, but at the end of the day, all of this falls on us. We have to learn how to work together, unite, be collective, move collectively, and figure out where we best fit, right? And begin to move as one. Until we do that, we will continue to find ourselves talking about the same problems again and again and again. So one of the things, or two of the things, the NAACP obviously is known for. One is for, protest demonstrations if need be. But our main focus, and where we've always been successful, is the use of attorneys to go into courtrooms and fight our battles. Supreme Court decisions, that the NAACP has been partly or all responsible for. That's the area of advocacy where I think we're best served here, is giving the membership and the community the information that they need and showing them how to best make use of that information. So we too, in addition to Dimitri and Kasim, and again, it all works together. Smaller town halls, larger town halls, virtual town halls. We too will be calling our legislators on the carpet and trying to figure out what their appetite is, specifically for these police reform bills that Governor Wolf put on the table last week. And the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, they've also put out a slew of proposals related to police reform. So now we're laser focused on that. And we just want to take the legislators' temperature, or our local elected officials' temperature, to kind of see what is your appetite for actually, creating change. How serious are you? How were you listening? How much were you listening? As Dimitri mentioned, were you really listening to those voices that were crying out all last week to you? Were you really paying attention? We're going to see.
Exactly. That means so much.
I want you to finish, sir.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut you off. But yeah, that means so much, because at the end of the day, we can cry and talk and march and march and march. But you guys, I keep trying to drive home. I'm just a regular dude. I'm nobody's like extra special. I never had any aspirations to be in any kind of like public office or anything like that. So this is why I'm trying to speak to just regular people. Like, well, you can do things to help yourself, as long as you actually try. And then when you try, these people are going to see that, and then they're going to actually try to be part of that. If they are going to try to be part of something that you are bringing to the table, make sure you keep your eyes and ears open so that you can absolutely know where they're coming from, whether or not it's a place of good or bad. And, we can get deeper into that, even if it is if people have outside agendas, make sure that you are using your smarts to circumvent those outside agendas, for lack of a better term. Just trying to make sure I stay as politically correct as I can be. But just make sure I'm very curious, out of everything that we've done, to see those same people that were there when it was 2,000-3,000 people. Will you be there when we're asking you to be there? Because miraculously, there's usually meetings and stuff like that. But we're open. See, this is the thing, is that I don't think we're going to find out if they understand that this might not just blow away, which is also calling us down to the carpet to make sure that we say, we cannot let this one blow away.
Amen.
I encourage everybody, like you said, it takes an hour a day. I'm not deep. I'm like, I applaud both of you guys for everything that you do, but I help run businesses. I own my business. I bought a home. I'm doing home renovations. I don't have as much time as I would really love to always be involved with everything that I would love to do, but I will give the time that I can. I will make sure that whatever avenues that I'm afforded, I can make sure that I can use those when I have to get the message out. And to wrap all that up, I just want to keep reminding our people, everybody, people who support, we all need to be held responsible too. That's something that's very important to me, that people understand that I am not sitting here being naive to the fact that I don't know that some of the things that are us, for lack of a better, but we have to understand that we have to change, just like we are asking for change, acclimate to said changes, and do better. And I think, to put the ultimate bow on that, all that means is to just love. If everybody just loves everybody and approaches something with a span of, okay, you love, I love, let's just be what's the best thing for everybody, I think there would be more changes in this world. There would be a lot less craziness in this world. I can only speak to my relationships in life, and when you come with love to people, they can get angry with you. They cannot respect you. They can whatever, but they can't say that it didn't come from your heart. I got a lot of people who know me who think that I'm a great guy. A lot of people think that I could be a mean guy. I have my ways, but I always come as straight as I can, because I'm I'm just a regular guy. But regular people could impact huge changes if you just try a little bit. Like, I'll give you a prime example. I don't know either. I've never met, but because of just simple things that we've come together, now we can come together and do more together. You have an hour this week to do something. I have an hour this week. You have an hour. We just bring our platforms together and hopefully bring some changes. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no skin off anyone's nose doing that.
Can I say something though? I have to, before this show is over, I have to say this. Dimitri, I want you to stop saying you're just a regular person.
Thank you.
Because you know what? So am I. I decided to run for office in 2018 because I was tired of commuting 2 hours a day to chase the dollar. And I'm looking at my elected officials saying, why aren't you raising the minimum wage? Okay. So,
I respect it, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's really just about, sometimes some people are driven one way. I think you're special. There's nothing regular about you. You're special because your passion is flag football, and you found a way to touch the community and bring folks together and inspire the young people. That's important. You know what I mean? So don't ever downplay your contributions. And I'm not saying you don't believe in yourself and you don't, you're a fabulous individual. I'm just saying don't refer to yourself as just a regular person, because we're all regular people, right? None of us are magical.
No, you're 100% right. I just like to make sure that, like, you don't have to be working on Wall Street to make changes. You don't have to. You
Right.
don't have to, have a 401k, or, you could just be Joe worker, 9 to 5, clock in, clock out. But you know what? You might know somebody because he's your, it goes both ways. I keep telling the system can work both ways if you use the system. You might know somebody who's in a higher place, and just because you know them, you might be able to have the ear of them so that we can just have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's been amazing how I've been able to grow certain things in our area just by showing commitment, helping people when they needed to be down, and showing that this is a family here, that when you're here, and people trust in that. And, am I perfect? No. Do I argue and scream? And sometimes, absolutely. Do people have misunderstandings? Yes. But that's what families do too. And with my situation, we call it the football family. And, when you're in here with us, you're okay. If, we, just like with, I swear, I didn't know who you were with the NAACP. We just decided with the situation was that this is a good place. Guys love flags. We can give these flags. We manufacture these flags. Let's raise some money to help do what we can do in the area. It's one hand washing the other. Both people getting a message out there. There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't lose $1, didn't gain $1. I did nothing. It's just positivity. If you do more of that, life will be better. And I've seen my life be impacted by the good thing. Let's not sit here and I would be wrong to say that I haven't been in bad situations. I haven't been down wrong streets and whatever. But that doesn't change the fact that you can still do good things and do positive things for people. Doesn't matter what background you're from or what have you. If people believe and people are actually ready to start doing changes and listen, doesn't matter who's the vessel or where it's from, as long as it's affecting positivity. That's really it.
Yes. Well, I do want to thank you. I wasn't going to say anything, but since you brought it up, Dimitri, I do want to thank you for, because I was so surprised when I looked on Facebook and saw that you had started a fundraiser for the NAACP. No one's ever done that. And so, again, you're a special person. You cared about an organization that you didn't even know existed, right? And then when you found out we existed, you were like, well, if they're doing good work, then I want to support that. And I think it was just an incredible thing that you did. And I just want to thank you publicly for that. I do appreciate it.
No, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. You did not have to do that. I just wanted to make sure that the flag community is a very niche community, and guys like to look beautiful out there. And if they have if somebody has the coolest pair of flags or whatever, or the latest coolest cleats or whatever, I'm telling you, guys are spending $300, $400 on custom cleats.
Wow.
With we're going to be raffling off a pair of cleats that were custom done that have Malcolm X on one side and Martin Luther King on the other side. Everybody who's died, and there's a lot of one of our guys who supports the league, who's Henrock Customs. He is donating them, and so is Kelvin Samuel, who actually bought them, but he actually got them custom and was like, these are too nice. I want to raffle these off and donate them. So we doing stuff like that, it just shows who cares. You know what I mean? Guys want to look cool, so why not run off some flags, give them out for cheaper than what we normally do, raise some money for our area. We now have bridged a gap of not knowing each other, and it's positive. And now guys have cool flags to play with. It's a win-win, and the guys can feel as though they donated to the cause and to the charity and to something in their town. How could that be a bad thing?
What's regular about that?
It's regular stuff that you can just do, man. And I love it. I love it's a passion that I have. It's just but I love I've seen the good that has come to me from this stuff that I've been doing. You know, without getting into a lot of it, my wife has really made me understand that the more good you put out, the more it's always going to come back 10 times fold. And I've always considered myself a good person, but she has shown me what it really means to like give from the soul, because she'll give you her soul because it's right. Just because it's right. I've seen her do things that I would never want someone to do, but she stands by it because her soul knows it's right, and that's what it's supposed to be. And I admire her for that. And I kind of latched on to that. And the more positive I used platforms that I have in the air, it's done nothing besides positive for me. There has been in every business, there's negative things that happen, but there's the good outweighs the bad tenfold. So I've kind of not adapted, but my mantra is always just be great and just, you know, give with love. If you can be great, wake up in the morning and try to do something great today. Just be great. You got, even if that means hold the door open for everybody if you can, because you might miss one or two. Be great. Put the cart back at, you know, when it comes back. Just the little things that we seem to forget. Like there's a cart guy that has to collect all those carts. Yes, he gets paid for it, but nobody wants to run around the store collecting all those carts. Put the cart back. Just be great. Try to be great every day, just a little bit. We are going to fall short, 100%, but try a little bit.
And I'm in agreement to that. And as we wrap this up tonight, you say you went over your time. I did it purposely. I wanted you to see it only takes a person that has a heart. And what you've heard today are from people who have hearts for the people. And when you have a heart for the people and you have a burden, you'll take that burden and you'll work it. You'll say, well, how can I do anything? What can I do to make it better? Lift it off of me, that it'll be better for someone else. Yes, we told him that he's just not an ordinary guy, as he keeps saying, because he rose to the occasion, and that makes something happen. When you rise to the occasion, that makes you a leader. It helps somebody else. Your failure to help someone else is a failure to someone receiving and moving in their dreams and casting their vision and walking out the vision that they've been given. But when you take the time to help someone else, no matter what it is, no matter what you have to offer, and you share what you have, it makes the difference. I always tell people, I'm not always on the thing of just let's make change. Oh, we're gonna break it. We're gonna break everything. No, I like to work with change. That means if I only got a quarter, but if I throw my quarter in, I'm working with what I have, and it adds up to what we want to see come to pass. So I encourage you, to your sons, your daughters, and you look at this and you may say, wow, look at the heart of this. You've heard several things happen here today. You heard about a brother hearing another brother speak, and because he had someone that poured into his life, which was his father, the young man's father, he poured back into his life. You heard about a young lady who had good parents that said this is not what they wanted for their child, but their children. They poured something into their daughter, that their daughter was able, with two other young ladies, to rise up and stand and say, we're not going to take this like this, lying down. You see Miss Casares here, who has a family, a husband and a son, and she came together to say, I want to see a change happen in Monroe County. And that's what she's done. All you've seen was people who had a heart and was listening and asking, what can I do to make my world better, to make my community better? And whatever platform I'm given, I'm going to use it. I represent the faith community, and there are other great faith leaders out there. Let me tell you, great pastors and leaders who want to see change and want to work with it, and they're doing their very best to come together to work as one. And so as we do that, never forget, whatever you have is much, no matter how little it seems to everybody else. But because you're giving it and it's coming from your heart, it's large. It's bigger than the city that you live in. So until we come back together again, thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you, Ms. Casares, and certainly thank Kayla, who had to go. But thank you all for joining us today. And I hope that you have a good evening on purpose.
Thank you so much.